Welcome to the Katie Halper Show. Got to talk into the mic. You know, I often suggest that my co-hosts and my guests laugh into the mic, but I'm a bit of a hypocrite because I sometimes don't speak into the mic. If it's a Wednesday at 6 or sometime after 6, it's the Katie Halper Show. Today is July 6th, 2 days after the birthday of these United States of America, and just 5 days before the birthday of the not-so-United States of Katie Halper.
Oh, I hope everybody took note of that, all right? Because we need you guys to join the Facebook page. We need you to bomb the page with happy birthdays. For Miss Katie Halps.
For Miss Katie Halps. And, of course, I'm speaking with my co-host, my co-pilot, Gabe Pacheco.
That's me, the number one co-pilot, Gabriel Guadalupe Pacheco. I'm here, you know, and I'm so excited to be here because I didn't think I'd make it. I went to far Rockaways for the 4th of July, so far away. It practically took me 2 days on the train to get back to my home in Greenpoint. That's right. That's another Easter egg for people listening. I live in Greenpoint. And everybody should go at least once before they get washed away by climate change.
Before they do, or the Rockaways?
The Rockaways.
Oh, got it.
Everybody
Could
should go.
To a person too.
Beautiful beach.
You look tan.
Thank you. I only saw two used baby diapers.
That's
at
low.
the high tide mark.
Wow, that is not Orchard Beach.
No.
Not to be confused with Orchard Beach.
Yeah. So anyway, that was my 4th of July.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And Reggie Johnson, our chief engineer.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good.
Awesome. I just wanted to tell you guys it's true. My birthday's 7/11, July 11th, and it's really cool and beautiful because I just bought an unlimited weekly Metro card, and now every time I swipe it, it says expires on 7/11. Seeing expires on 7/11 is not a good look.
You don't do the monthly, you do the weekly.
The weekly.
See, is that fear of commitment?
Because I go upstate, I go out of the city sometimes because I need a break from these streets. Anyway, our show today is so great. Here's what we got for you. Ready? We got journalist Max Blumenthal. Hillary Clinton had to condemn him by name this week. Guys, Max Blumenthal is breaking his silence. What it's like being called a nuisance, a public nuisance. That's not what she said. She said that what he said was wrong in all senses. So Max is giving us an exclusive post-Clinton chastisement.
If that was a quote that I got from her, I would put it on the back of my comedy album.
Oh my God, yeah, it would be the best.
That I haven't put out yet, but that I would put that quote on there.
So again, she condemned him by name. Max Blumenthal is breaking his silence, giving us an exclusive interview about the article that he wrote that was read around the world, or at least around Clinton campaign staff and various Israeli-Palestinian interested circles. Then we're going to be talking to Carl Diggler, who's half a comedic character and also, 80-something% of the time, a statistically correct predictor of elections.
Like a modern-day Nostradamus.
A Nostradamus. I don't even know what that meant.
We'll go
with that. Let's pretend it never happened. We'll definitely cut that out of the podcast. Tweet us your questions, tag me at KTHelps, and use the hashtag KTHelpsShow. And we'll share the questions. Gabe looks so suspicious right now. Well, there's a very, what's the word? Side-eye. I'm getting some side-eye. Side-eye of love. Gabe doesn't like it when I take down the fourth wall. He's going to tell me I'm a snitch. And you know what happens to snitches?
They get stitches.
Exactly, yeah. So what if someone calls in and reports us as being in a domestically violent situation?
Who knows? Let's add some spice to the show.
Okay.
When are we going to get the call-ins? We got to get a hotline number for just the ordinary listener.
Oh, we do have to start doing that. If you care about the Katie Halper Show, and we know that you do because you're here listening to us right now, right? Follow us on SoundCloud, subscribe to us on iTunes, give us some nice ratings, write a review, and give us some stars. You have two choices. You can either give us 5 stars, or you can give us 1 Jewish Star of David with 6 points, a la Trump. Let's have Gabe, I feel like I need one of your like rah-rah cheerleader things. Not to put you on the spot.
What's going on? Do we need to get our first guest in here?
Almost. I need to set them up.
What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Before we do that, I want to just say, I woke. I'm sorry if I'm a little bummed out today. The first thing I do is I wake up and on Facebook I see just more instances of police brutality every day, and I just feel like really bummed out about what just happened in Louisiana with Mr. Sterling being killed on film. on video by the police down there, and I just hope that we have an opportunity to address that and address the issue of police brutality in this country. And I hope that our presidential candidates talk about that.
They're not going to talk about that.
You don't think so?
No, they won't, because it won't be in their best interest. They're just going to ignore it like they usually do and keep it moving. They're going to act like everything is all right, everything is equal, everything is okay. This is the greatest country in the world while all this stuff is going on. They're not going to do anything different than they usually do because they're that detached. Both of them.
You mean Trump and Clinton?
Both of them.
Okay, good. Yeah.
So, yeah, for all of our African-American listeners and people of color, I just want you guys to know that I saw that this morning. I'm bummed out by it, and I hope that...
Well, that should be for everyone.
For everyone. It is for everyone. It is, but also...
Everyone.
Yeah.
Because also the people who do it, who are of all backgrounds...
A rainbow coalition
of police brutality offenders.
Brutalizers,
yeah, of police brutalizers. Yeah, we want to make sure everyone knows about that. You know what? I asked Gabe to give us an upper, and did he deliver or what? I mean, I'm only sorry that there's not a major genocide or Holocaust that also happened today.
It was poignant.
It was poignant.
Yeah.
I definitely had an emotional response. So
maybe not the one you want, but you got one anyway.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I mean, it was the opposite direction, but sometimes you need that because now that I went all low, I'm going to have to go high. Are we ready to bring on our first guest? I just want to tell you something about Max Blumenthal. This is a guy who's always getting people in trouble. He's notorious, and he's been called anti-Israel. He's been called one of the world's most noxiously self-hating, virulent anti-Semites. He's an author, journalist, and a blogger. He's a senior writer for Alternate and formerly a writer for the Daily Beast, Al Akbar, and Media Matters for America. He's the author of 3 books, Republican Gomorrah, Inside the Movement That Shattered the Party, Goliath, Life and Loathing in Greater Israel, and the 51-Day War, Ruin and Resistance in Gaza.
Republican Gomorrah, which was so good. I think that everybody should read it if they want background and sort of like the psychosexual nature of the politicians in the Republican Party.
Max, you there?
I'm here.
Max, thank you so much for joining us. We just read your bio. You missed it, but you probably know all about it.
Well, it's good to be on with you, and we need to eliminate this echo because
echo, yeah.
Often I hate the sound of my own voice.
Oh, wow. So you are self-loathing, just not about being Jewish.
I just hate it on speakers, but in person, the self-loathing is gone, and I'm very narcissistic.
Oh, okay.
What's up, Max Blumenthal? It's me, Gabe Pacheco. I'm here in the building, too.
Gabe, good to hear from you.
Oh,
I got the echo again.
Uh-oh. Yeah, what are we going to do about that? You know what, Max? You're not in Gaza. Things are not so bad. You know what I mean? That's what I'm going to say. Anytime, if Max says anything plaintiff, I'll just be like, really?
Well,
sounds like a lot of non-Palestinian privilege.
Well,
right
he
there.
should know that his work is respected here at WBAI.
Right.
And his name is very familiar to the listeners here at WBAI because he definitely speaks truth to power, and he speaks it because it's the right thing to do, and not just because sometimes it may not be the populist thing to do, but he definitely does the right thing.
Max, did you hear that? You just got a great blurb from Reggie Johnson. Do you know Reggie?
I don't, but I want to know him, and I think, I want to know him more than I already know you guys. So
you want to know him more than you know.
He's got a smooth voice, and I got a better endorsement from him than I've ever gotten from you. So I'm just going to be
Max,
waiting on that after the show.
I've been tracking you down to come on the show for years, ever since the second temple.
Ever since the Bar Kokhba rebellion.
Yes, the Bar Kokhba rebellion. Yeah, he was such an angry guy. He had a lot of high tea. If you want to call
it's not like there is
tea.
Anything like Masada in the present day Middle East.
Right, or Mossad. You're welcome.
Well, that's what I thought that clicking sound was.
What? Mossad clicking. Oh, all right. You know what? I don't want the media that we run to cut us off. So, moving right along, I wanted to talk to you, Max, about a really excellent article you just wrote at Alternate about Eli Wiesel.
If we can do something about the echo, it would be great.
Can you get headphones or something? Or all right, Max, you're already such
Let
a
me
popular figure.
try putting on some headphones real quick.
Okay. So, by the way, Max, we're
listening
live.
through
We're
speakerphone?
live, by the way, just so you know, this is
Yeah,
live.
I know.
Okay.
I know. I just usually do a sound check.
You can laugh.
Yeah, you listening. You should.
You're on
You should
WBI.
put a headset
you should know
on
that
of
you're not
some
getting
sort.
a sound check. This isn't RT.
So you won't be put off by the feedback.
Yeah. Oh my God.
This is live radio, folks. If you haven't figured this out already,
Let's see how this goes.
All right.
So, but Eli Wiesel is very well known. He is the sort of singular face and voice of the Holocaust, and when he died, I was really critical of him because I don't think he had a very positive legacy, and I thought that he provided moral cover to some of the worst atrocities that we've witnessed in our lives. And I was, accused of basically saying something that was tantamount to Holocaust denial, because apparently there are no other traditions of interpreting the Holocaust allowed outside of Wiesel's, who, is a figure who's marketed to not just Jewish Americans, but mainstream America through this very vast commercial apparatus,
right,
including Oprah Winfrey. And, it's not a coincidence that you see kind of criticism from people on the margins, criticism that's indisputable, about his support for military interventions in the Middle East, his incitement against Palestinians, and fulsome praise from the elites who really relied on him for political cover. And that was really what I was trying to get to in my piece for Alternate.
And the article is called "It is Important to Have Perspective on Eli Wiesel's Legacy." Officially remembered as a moral giant, Wiesel provided cover to the invasions and occupations that have devastated the Middle East. It's pretty understated. But
but I mean, on Twitter, I was more scathing, which is, what happens on Twitter.
Right, or when you're doing our show and hear an echo.
That would be a scathing attack on you that I'll save for off air.
Oh, that we thought we already had it. Wow, thanks for the self-control, Max. No, we do appreciate it. But you make this very interesting point about how you yourself used to look up to Eli Wiesel and you read his book Night. But I think that the part of your article that really, I thought, crystallized everything that I think is wrong with the kind of the industry of being possessive about the Holocaust is, you write, Wiesel seemed to view the other victimized groups as competitors in an oppression Olympics, fretting that widespread recognition of the atrocities they suffered would sap his own moral power. The universalist credo, never again to anyone, was a threat to his saintly status, his celebrity, and his bottom line. And you actually talk about how he, as a member of the Advisory Council of the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum in '92, he lobbied against recognizing LGBTQ and Roma victims of the Holocaust. That, I have to say, shocked me. I thought he was kind of your normal, I love human beings as long as they're not Palestinians. But he takes it a step further.
The Roma that aren't really recognized by anybody except Romania right now.
Right.
To this day.
Yeah, and who are still suffering in just incredible persecution in Europe. I mean, they've been ethnically cleansed from France. They're beaten on the streets. And there's this huge tidal wave of incitement against them that kind of parallels the incitement you hear against refugees from the Middle East. So this is true. Eli Wiesel saw Roma and gay victims of the Holocaust as people as groups that could possibly compromise the his own moral power as a Jewish survivor of the Holocaust, and who would compromise the kind of recognition that Jews had gained as the ultimate victims of history. And in doing so, this was kind of consistent with Wiesel's portrayal of himself as a kind of saint of Holocaust theology. After the Holocaust, there were a number of philosophers who included Wiesel, who were very influential, particularly among the neoconservative trend, who argued that the Holocaust was a rebuke to the merciful God that was traditional to Judaism, and that Jews needed to adopt a kind of secular theology rooted in the Holocaust. There was pre-Auschwitz and post-Auschwitz.
Right.
and the Holocaust kind of hovered around it and existed outside of it, and it situated Jews permanently within the confines of the anti-Semitic gaze of the Gentile other, which is incredibly dangerous, and it also fueled support for Israel as this kind of walled-in Spartan state that would protect Jews from another Holocaust. And Wiesel was the figure who could commune with the souls of the dead of the Holocaust, someone who
literally said that,
understood.
Right?
He understood the theology because he lived through the death camps of Buchenwald and Auschwitz, and no one else could understand it but him, which not only gave him enormous moral power to defend anything and everything Israel did, Israel, the kind of state that was supposed to deliver Jews from catastrophe, but it also made him an enormous celebrity who could rake in millions of dollars to himself and his own foundation by talking about the Holocaust and imparting its lessons to a completely uncritical public.
Just to read some more quotes of what you said. You said with Wiesel's death, the elites who relied on him for moral cover leapt at the opportunity to claim his legacy. Meanwhile, the teachings and testimonies of Holocaust survivors who insisted on applying the lessons of the genocide universally, including to Palestinians, remained confined to the margins.
Right.
Yeah. And what's interesting is, and there's a great article about the response, because we should back up a little bit and explain that this provoked a response from Jack Sullivan, senior policy advisor to Hillary Clinton, not just a spokesman, policy advisor, who said, quote, Secretary Clinton emphatically rejects these offensive, hateful, and patently absurd statements about Eli Wiesel. She believes they are wrong in all senses of the term. She believes that Max Blumenthal and others should cease and desist in making them, Sullivan said. So did you officially just get a cease and desist from the Clinton campaign?
Yeah, I don't know if that's a legal order. I don't understand the ramifications of a cease and desist order. This is something you tend to get from the court when you're stalking somebody. But I thought the most curious part of their statement was that what I had said was patently absurd.
Right.
Here's what I said about Eli Wiesel, that he aggressively supported illegal Jewish settlers who removed Palestinians from their homes in occupied East Jerusalem. He was on the board of an organization called Elad, which does precisely that in Israel, behind the cover of archaeology. And he's attacked Barack Obama and challenged Barack Obama on his call for Israel to stop building settlements in East Jerusalem. I pointed out that Eli Wiesel had taken, after he lost his millions that he'd accumulated as a Holocaust celebrity to Bernard Madoff, that he immediately rushed the Cornerstone Church, the church of Pastor John Hagee in San Antonio, Texas. Pastor John Hagee, someone who is an anti-gay fanatic, who has said that Hitler was a half-breed Jew. He's written that.
Someone had to say it, Max.
I guess then leave it up to Pastor John Hagee, the leading Christian Zionist, the leading evangelical supporter of Israel, to make these anti-Semitic statements. I mean, these statements were well known. They were so well known that Senator John McCain rescinded Hagee's endorsement in 2008.
Right.
But Wiesel went to his church anyway after he lost his millions to collect a $500,000 speaking fee for one speech, and he called Hagee his dear pastor. So I pointed that out. Another thing I pointed out was that Eli Wiesel, in a full-page ad that went out under the banner of Rabbi Shmuley Botiek's nonprofit, while Palestinians were being slaughtered in the Gaza Strip in the summer of 2014, this is when 551 children were killed, mostly at home, by high-powered Israeli weapons. Eli Wiesel accused those children's parents of ritual child sacrifice and referred to Palestinians as Molochites.
Can you explain that reference?
Savages who do not love their children as much as Jews do. Now, just imagine if someone had taken out a full-page ad in the New York Times claiming that Jewish victims of pogroms were actually, committing child ritual sacrifice by giving their bodies to the the rampaging Cossacks.
Right.
Would that person be honored? I mean, would that person live on in memory and be hailed as a moral giant by Barack Obama? Of course not. So what we're seeing here with the condemnation of Hillary Clinton is the sense that the lives of those children who were killed in Gaza don't matter. No one, not one single person, can contend with the substance of my arguments and criticisms about Eli Wiesel because they're completely factual. We see them in complete and utter denial about the facts I introduce.
Right.
They're just offended because he was a secular saint, a kind of post-war Moses who interceded between the Western world and this Holocaust that increasingly substituted for the merciful God.
Right. I didn't know that the Jewish God was ever that merciful.
Well, yeah, there's a pretty wrathful God in the Old Testament who commits genocide again and again, but there's also a God of mercy.
Named Jesus Christ.
And, yeah, there are different portrayals of Jesus. I mean, the Jesus that Pastor Hagee really likes, it comes from the book of Revelation.
Right.
And, you know, if you don't convert to Christianity, if you or I don't convert before the end times, we're going to burn in an everlasting lake of fire. And, you know, if you get in an everlasting, if it lasts forever, we'll probably get used to it.
That's true. We're very resilient, and we develop tolerance like all other beings. As Shylock says, if you put us in eternal hell, do we not adapt? But don't some of us get saved? Don't some of us make it? Oh, we convert, right?
144,000 kind of chosen ones make it, according to the Left Behind series of Tim LaHaye and Jerry Jenkins. So there's that. Kirk Cameron.
I was going to say, we got to get Kirk on the show.
We can hang out with Kirk Cameron after. But in any case, if the rapture occurs, on the other hand, we'll get all of the Gentiles' cars.
Right.
And
that would be
houses.
Great. Now, how did you find out that Hillary Clinton's, someone from her campaign and a policy advisor of hers, Jack Sullivan, how did you find out that he had responded to what you had written?
Oh, that's actually a good question. I mean, I found out because it was printed in the Jerusalem Post, but I mean, the question is, how did they decide to denounce me and why?
Right.
And, you know, one question I have is whether the Jerusalem Post actually reached out to them for comment. But the outrage was completely confined to the right wing. I mean, Rabbi Shmuley Botiach who was, you know, a far-right figure, ran as a Republican in Congress in New Jersey and, you know, couldn't get elected dog catcher, so he lost.
You just quoted Donald Trump. That's what Donald Trump said about Marco Rubio. Love it. Great callback.
Well, you know, a little Shmuley couldn't get elected either, even though he had millions from Sheldon Adelson.
Right.
Anyway, the point is he was sending out mass emails demanding Hillary Clinton denounce me. Breitbart had an article that had trended on Facebook, or my name trended on Facebook.
Oh, yeah, you were trending on Facebook.
Thanks to that article.
Mazel tov.
Yeah, I mean, who cares that, like, hundreds of Iraqis were killed in an ISIS bombing? Like, my name trended.
You're much more dangerous.
Over Eli Wiesel, but the question is not only how did they come to denounce me, and I think it was through right-wing pressure and pressure from the pro-Israel donors who surround her, figures like Haim Saban, who provide a substantial amount of individual contributions to her campaign. And it was also, there's also the question of why. Because, you know, I met Hillary Clinton once in my life. I was 16 years old. We spoke for about 30 seconds. I have no relationship with her. The person who has a relationship with her is my father. And so, you know, if the children of people who are, you know, and my father has been an advisor to Bill Clinton and has a role on the Clinton campaign, I guess an outside role. So, I mean, it's kind of a bizarre, attenuated connection, but they felt compelled to denounce me because of the right-wing pressure, and it shows who can pressure Hillary Clinton. She has fought tooth and nail to resist left-wing pressure from Bernie Sanders and his supporters, and that's kind of what you see over the convention platform debate, especially on the issue of admitting that an occupation of Palestine exists.
Right. We had Rania Kalik on last week, and we talked about that with her. And I am blown away by the quote-unquote progressives on Twitter and social media and just out and about in the open who are basically complaining that Sanders is pushing the platform to make it more progressive. I find that such a weird tell. Like, I'm just amazed by the PR fail that is saying that. Are you?
Why would we want low wage workers to get paid more? But the point is they've resisted this, and you see that convention, the Clinton convention platform member Neera Tanden is a perfect example of someone who's resisting progressive change, but someone who has been involved for years and years and years in catering to the right-wing pro-Israel lobby, doing whatever they want. She oversaw the firing or the forcing out of several staffers at Think Progress, which is the blog of the Center for American Progress, who had criticized Israel in factual terms and who had written some really important pieces with important research about the push for a war with Iran by the pro-Israel lobby. So it's just clear to me that the right-wing forces, which are more embedded in the Republican Party, are able to move Hillary Clinton than progressive forces from the Sanders campaign. And her denunciation of me is just one example of that.
Right. Were you just admit it though? Did you blush a little bit?
I expected it to happen sooner or later. I thought it would come sooner.
Right. It's my turn. As Hillary says in the Doug Henwood book.
Oh yeah. Well, my turn was by Nancy Reagan. So anyway,
but
this is my turn.
Yeah. Okay. But he refers to that in his book anyway. Stop being such a socially ingratiating lubricant, Max Blumenthal. It's getting old. All right. Well, Max, we would love to have you on again. Any last thoughts you want to share? What's going to happen with the election? What's going to happen with the conventions?
Well, what I think needs to happen at the DNC is to continue to push on the issue of Palestine, and to expose the rift between Hillary Clinton and her donors and the popular base of the Democratic Party that really represents the future of the party and the movement that made Bernie Sanders a household name. And I'll be involved in that outside of the convention. I'll be doing an event on Palestine. I know Medea Benjamin will be involved in talking about other human rights issues. We'll have an expert on Honduras.
Oh,
and
when
I think
is
we'll
this?
have
Tell us about this.
We'll have someone talking about Yemen. So this is in the works. And I think, it's just important to recognize that, for me, the way I keep perspective on this is by looking at not only the poll numbers. I know Carl Diggler is an expert pollster, which show that a majority of younger Democrats do not favor Israel over Palestine, that they did not support Israel's assault on the Gaza Strip in 2014, which left 100,000 homes either partially or totally destroyed, the assault that Eli Wiesel fulsomely supported. And that most people in the world, when I travel outside the United States, agree with me wholeheartedly that Palestinians deserve equal rights. So this is just one issue we can push on. The minimum wage is another issue. Climate change is another issue. Keystone XL is another issue. TPP, all of these issues are opportunities for people because Hillary Clinton is out of step with her base and with the future of her party,
Max,
and she's catering entirely to oligarchs.
Yeah, but it's easy for you to say that because you're a man. Something that you don't get because you're not a woman is that oligarchy catering is actually like we're not socially accepted if we don't do that. Like we can't get a date.
Right.
We just get shunned and yeah.
Yeah, you want to be where the boys are.
Yeah, we do. We want to be where the boys are. Yeah.
Well, if you're for Bernie, you want to be where the boys are.
I know. I'm already there. That's why I am with Bernie.
And there's a special place in hell for people who are disgusted by rising inequality.
I know, and it's right next to. It's not as hot as the place in hell for people who justify sanctions against Iraqis that kill 500,000 children, and that, of course, is where Madeleine Albright will be spending her time. Too soon, too burnish. Bernie.
In
Bernish.
any case, if there's any silver lining here, it's that I'll no longer be falsely accused of being a friend of Hillary.
Oh, yeah, you guys, this is breaking news. Max Blumenthal no longer falsely accused of being a friend of Hillary. And I have to say, Max, we hung out a little bit at the DNC in '08, and I have to say you've come a long way.
Well, so have you.
Thanks. Oh, lovely times. Okay, well, Max, thank you so much for coming on the show. We'll talk to you again. We'll talk to you more about we talked about the political side. Next, we have to look at the personal side of what it's like to have never been friends with Hillary Clinton and losing that friendship that never was there. Because I imagine that's a real blow.
It's absolutely devastating.
I'm definitely going to make a clip out of this.
All right.
And Max Blumenthal, you're just Max Blumenthal on Twitter. Follow him. And I also want to suggest that you read Speech Boy on Twitter or Michael Cohen, because he has some really persuasive ideas about the insignificance of minimum wage and how it really doesn't matter. It's all symbolic, which makes the fact that Clinton's people fought it so hard that much weirder.
Yeah, I'm familiar with him through. No one's familiar with him through any writing he does, and I don't know what his job is, but I'm familiar with him through his notion that Jews who disagree with him are anti-Semites.
Yeah.
Follow him for a good
time.
For a good hate browse.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Max.
All right. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. And everyone read Max's article on the Alternate. Follow him on Twitter. Guys, Max had to leave early. I mean, not early, but he couldn't stay because he couldn't hang. Because we have a guest in the studio right now. You may have heard of him. His name is Carl Diggler. And he's a man of mystery, of talent, of predictive powers. And again, he's someone who really likes to see both sides. He has a site called 638. And he also writes at cafe.com. Carl, welcome.
How are you doing, fam?
Oh, we're so good. Thanks so much for coming. And how old are you, Carl, if I can ask you?
Well, a gentleman never tells, but I have been covering insider politics for 30-plus years. Let's just say I've been around the block a few times.
Wow. Well, I'm very impressed that someone of your seasoned age would say, fam. Where did you learn that expression?
If you're not evolving as a pundit, then you simply have no business prognosticating about primaries, writing think pieces about millennials, or obsessively replying to female reporters on Twitter.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I think that those are all adages that we try to live by. So, Carl, what makes you tick? What got you into this writing business? Got you into the Beltway? Made you a Beltway insider for so many decades?
Well, I grew up a bit of a latchkey kid. My father, Colonel John Diggler, was a very firm man. He was always on work assignments in Cambodia, Chile, nations like this during the 1970s and 80s. And I found myself raised by the TV, namely the McLaughlin Group.
Oh, that's a great show.
I was on the edge of my seat as a boy. Every day I hope to sort of bring back that magic and that energy that so energized us. But I remember, in the 1980s, as a boy, I was polling classmates about John Anderson's radical moderation. As a Wellesley boy, I was on the debate team, and I ended up at the Minnetonka Daily Bugle and eventually became their D.C. correspondent, and was nominated for numerous Freedom Awards in 2001 and 2002 for my exposés about Pat Tillman's heroics at Pop Warner football. And
how did you get into Wellesley, by the way?
I was part of an experimental program.
The all-women's college, of course, where Hillary Clinton actually went. Yeah.
Yes, one thing that me and Hillary have in common, except I do not commit email felonies.
Oh wow, you think she really did it, huh?
The crime of emailing Sidney Blumenthal carries the weight of 99 life sentences.
According to the Book of Dig, the Book of the Dig, is that
correct?
Correct.
And I believe the reason that Max refused to speak with me is he knows I would grill him about this. But anyway, I was part of the only coeducational class at Wellesley, and I think we were a little bit too much for them to handle.
Too much fun?
Yeah, we had some good times.
What does it make you think of coeducation? I mean, do you endorse single-sex education, or?
I think that in any given classroom that a boy can learn mostly by impressing women, I would say that 99% of love, in my experiences with women, stems from pity. And there is no place where you can garner greater pity than in an educational institution. I remember during Desert Storm, as I was an upperclassman, as Schwarzkopf was dropping the bombs on the Kuwaiti border, we were dropping some bombs of our own in the senior dormitories.
Wow. Now, is that a bathroom humor thing or a sexual humor thing? Or
let's just say that as our young men were going off to war, little Dig was becoming a man himself.
Are we allowed to laugh? Gabe, we can laugh, right?
There was laughter.
No. I'm just asking. I'm being serious. I'm not even... No shots fired. No snitching. I don't know if we're supposed to pretend that we're just... if we're in it. I don't do the acting thing.
So did you ever play a victim when you were at Wesley? You got some pity points from the ladies?
I'm against victim culture, but there is nothing wrong with feigning loneliness, internal conflict, ennui, or a deep sense of consideration to cause a young lady to go up to you and go, wow, what's going on with this fella?
Yeah, because you're balanced, They're both sides of every argument, and you probably have that's the internal conflict.
Well, that's mostly what young ladies are looking for. I mean, a younger, less experienced girl may think that they want to date a partisan man. And they'll date either one of the racist Pepe Frog men on the right or a woman harasser for Bernie Sanders on the left. But as they get older, they will find that the experience and the moderation that comes with it is what they truly desire.
And have you always been a kind of nonpartisan man, or did you experiment in partisanship and dabble in it in college or any time in your life?
I'm proud to say my entire life I've seen both sides of the issue.
So what are both sides of the issue now with the email scandal?
Well, on one hand, yes, Hillary Clinton broke every single federal law imaginable with her Hotmail server. Yet, on the other side, she's running against dangerous Donald.
And what makes Donald so dangerous?
Everything. I mean, at the beginning we thought, this is kind of silly and funny when he proposed the mass ethnic cleansing of the southwestern United States. And, said that we would murder the families of terrorists. Those were certifiably viral moments. But I noticed that the tide turned when he called out my friend Michael Barbaro on Twitter. And his harassment of reporters and his supporters' continued harassment of respected journalists means that we are on the precipice of fascism.
Wow. What about fascism, though? I mean, let's talk about fascism on both sides, right? So some people are talking about the violence that's being committed by some Trump supporters, right? You have neo-Nazis, you have stabbings, but then a lot of really woke people. Do you know what woke means, by the way?
Oh, I consider myself woke.
Okay, good.
Are you woke AF?
I prefer to abstain from profanity, even abbreviations of it, except for in extreme times of emotional distress. But yeah, you could say I'm a woke, cute boy whom write a few words for a few places.
If we catch your drift, which we do. So we got some woke people on Twitter saying, there's just too much violence on both sides. So is that a kind of Diggler-esque thing to say?
I could not agree with them more.
Do you think they're stealing your are they in your lane, stealing your perspective, kind of?
Well, I'm usually quite wary of people appropriating my experience and erasing my lived experience, but I think that I've definitely influenced these young people to see every side of the issue, to see both sides of the coin, that, yeah, it's not good to be a Nazi and attack minorities and permanently maim people. But at the same time, fighting back means that you go down to their level. So if these young people want to fight back against the violent Trump people, they should cross their arms, look at them, and say, well, you, sir, don't know how bad you look. Look at Jeb. Jeb Bush did this. No, he did not win the election, but he won a more important thing. He won our respect.
Right.
When Jeb pathetically tried to defend his wife from Dangerous Donald's attack, no, he did not elicit an apology, and he actually exacerbated the situation with his quote-unquote weakness. But there's nothing weak about respectability.
Now, what do you think about, speaking of respectability, what do you think about Bernie Sanders?
Worse than Trump. The same as Trump, but worse. Bernie Sanders has caused millions of WOC to be silenced.
That's women of color for our listeners who don't know.
The Bernie Bros are incessantly in my mentions. I will say one critical thing about their candidate. It's very impartial. I will say that perhaps Bernie Sanders should wander off to a mountain to die of old age. And I will get these Bernie Bros in my mentions saying, Carl, fill my hole. Carl, I'm going to put your son in a catapult. Carl, Colby isn't your son. Carl, Jake Tapper is raising your son. Carl, ex-Mrs. The Dig was right to leave you. Carl, you're a family court failure. Carl, you're wrong about everything. And Carl, you look terrible.
Wow. And
Is
of
this
those,
fair?
Which of those hurts the most, by the way?
The Jake Tapper one, because it's just not true. I'm the boy's father.
Now we've talked about a fringe candidate, Bernie Sanders, perhaps. But what about the other fringe candidates? What about a Gary Johnson? How do you feel about his chances?
Well, Gary Johnson represents a sizable portion of Americans who like to film themselves harassing police officers and claiming that there aren't enough fringes on the flag for them to be persecuted in a court of law. Now, these people are usually too doped up on fentanyl tea concoctions and Oxycontin cocktails to vote come November. But this year, with two polarizing candidates with high negatives, you may see Gary Johnson slide in with a higher plurality of the vote than usual as these people make their way around the police.
Sounds good. And Gabe, you've been listening. Have you not been listening to the Chapo podcasts?
Oh, yeah, Chapo's Trap House?
Yeah.
The probably the most woke, lit, triple 100 emoji.
Yeah, every time I talk to this
podcast.
guy about this show, he's like, talk to me later. I'm listening.
I don't agree that podcast is any of those things.
I like the performative allyship that's going on that podcast.
They don't do any of that. They're not.
And their complete attack on the regressive left.
You think they're allies. They banned POC from their show until 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
What happened 2 weeks ago?
Lee Fong harassed them into going on to the show.
We had him on our show.
I'm sorry. Are you okay?
Yeah, we thought he was great.
He didn't harass you? He didn't send you any messages? Okay.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Sounds unlike him.
I know. I think somehow we...
Carl, what are some policies you'd like to see enacted in the next 4 years?
Policies, next 4 years. Great question, Gabe. Love it.
Well,
questions.
I think that if you look at the silent majority of Americans, they want a few things. They want balanced budgets. They want means testing for Social Security. They want the retirement age raised to about 80 or not at all. And they want military intervention in Iran. These are common sense solutions that most Americans support.
Yeah, and how do you feel about tent cities? Do we have enough tent cities in the United States?
Good question.
We not nearly enough. I mean, we live in 2016. Everything is mobile. Phones are mobile. Uber is mobile. Dating is mobile. Dating is done via webcam now. Why would you need a house that stays in the same place? It's actually holding you back.
What's the worst thing for you about Bernie Sanders? And do you think... sorry.
I would say his violent in-person misogyny, the misogynistic hand-waving.
Oh, totally, yeah. He applauded Hillary Clinton for her student debt plan, and I just thought as a woman, I felt like he never would have applauded a man. That's just something, it's so belittling, like you're clapping at me. He's basically putting his hands on my breasts and clapping them like a human mammogram.
You're completely right, Katie. He learned this technique from going to strip clubs with his hip-hop friend Killer Michael. Similar to throwing dollar bills at women, if you think about it.
It is. That's a really good point. Well, Carl is going to be with us not just now, but we're going to have him at our live show today at 388 Atlantic at the Brooklyn Commons. So if you have any questions for Carl, make sure you tweet at him, and his handle is at Carl_Diggler, or at me at KT Helps, and come on down to the show. But Carl, what are you excited about in life? What's your dating life like? What's the things that, like, what makes you get up in the morning?
Well, what makes me get up in the morning is, a few things. Primarily, my son Colby, who's just a perfect round boy. I see myself in him every day, and
He's like a little doughy sphere.
Yeah, he's a perfect boy. He's a perfect boy.
How old is Colby?
Colby is 13. He just turned 13.
Such a tender age.
Yeah, difficult time. He's going through puberty now.
Yeah, I remember when I was 13.
Were you sexually active at that age?
Not with other people, but you know how it goes.
Hands-on experience. Yes, got it. You can't love other people until you love yourself.
That's exactly right. Self-care is one of the most radical things you can do.
Radical feminist things. Anti-racist.
That's right.
So, guys, come on down to the show. Carl Diggler is going to be on it. We're going to be talking to Natasha Leonard. We're going to be talking to Brendan James. She is wonderful. She writes a lot about Brexit. He's wonderful. Carl, I don't know if you get along with him or if he's too kind of in your face for your kind of more fair and balanced style.
Brendan he could be a nice young man. He chooses to associate himself with harassers, but I will tolerate him. Will Natasha be wearing open-toed shoes?
Hopefully she will be. I'm not sure.
Right.
And I just wanted to say that I think you'd be proud that, or upset and nervous. I tweeted something the other day that made Joan Walsh tweet in response. I don't know what I'm rooting for you, Katie, to get through whatever this is. You're terrific. So you and Joan should talk about.
Well, when she said that, she represented all white people. She is the ideal spokesperson for the white race, and I admire everything she has done.
Yes, thank you.
The golden mean of whiteness.
Yeah, the creamy golden mean.
It's basically between me and her who's the best spokesperson for white people. But
what do you think could bump you over the edge?
I think if we were in the top 20 on iTunes, if I get into the top 10 this coming week, that could give me a few more points. So, digheads, press that MF download button.
And where can people find your new podcast?
It's the Digcast on news and politics in the iTunes podcast section.
Awesome. Okay, and guys, follow us on SoundCloud. Subscribe to us on iTunes. This has been great. We love seeing you. We're always around. We're always happy to talk to you. Carl Diggler is the best. We're going to see him tonight. Gabe Pacheco.
I'm Gabe Pacheco. You can follow me at Gabe_Pacheco on Twitter.
See you guys next week. Stay woke.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.